Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the FEU Career and Placement Office Pre-Employment Preparation Talk or PEP Talk webinar series for the first semester of 2021 to 2022. I'm sure for the regular PEP Talk viewers, you know me already, but for those watching us for the first time, this is Ron Gascon, the coordinator of the Far Eastern University Career and Placement Office or CAPO, and I'm also a faculty of the Interdisciplinary Studies Department of IAS. I'm also your MC and moderator for this afternoon webinar. PEP Talk is a regular virtual series designed to prepare our students for employment by equipping them with necessary knowledge through talks focusing on various topics delivered by industry professionals and experts. And on your screens now, what you can see here are actually our previous PEP Talk webinars conducted from the previous semesters until the present. You may rewatch them at your most convenient time at the Career and Placement Office official Facebook page and of course at the FEU YouTube channel. Today's webinar is also being live streamed via the Microsoft Teams and also at the FEU and CAPO's official Facebook pages. To participate in our question and answer segment, you may submit your comments and questions anytime by posting at our conversation page. It can be found at the right side of your screen if you're using a desktop or at the live Q&A tab if you are using a mobile phone or other portable device. For our viewers watching right now through the FEU Facebook live streaming, you may always post also your questions and reactions. We encourage you to engage with us and by typing it on the comment section as well. So we really anticipate your participation as we progress in our webinar this afternoon. A resume, whether in print or electronic form, is an essential tool where job seekers can display their top skills, qualities, academic background, and work experience. However, a resume is much more than just a piece of document. Resume aids companies and talent acquisition specialists create hiring decisions and help applicants get their first job or internship interview. How resumes are structured and the type of information included together with the job application letter are all crucial to stand out from the crowd. How can a resume make or break your chances of getting hired in a company? How can a well-written resume increase your confidence level in a job interview? How do you write a TAMnotch resume that will help you grab that dream job? FEU CAPO presents our PEP Talk webinar today titled How to Write a TAMnotch Resume. This webinar is brought to you by FEU CAPO with our digital media partner, the Marketing and Communication Office. Stay tuned as we discover more how we can develop our skills in resume writing from our PEP Talk resource speaker for today. Just a reminder, please make sure that your microphones are on mute to avoid causing any unnecessary noise. Thank you for your cooperation. Let us maximize our time by learning from today's webinar. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the opening remarks and introduction of our resource speaker, may I call on the Director of the Career and Placement Office, Ms. Maria Carmencita Babes Suva Alfonso. Hi, Ma'am Babes. Good afternoon. The screen is yours.
Hi, Sir Ron. Good afternoon. And hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, to our speaker, thank you so much. Good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you for your time today. A year ago, when pandemic came, we were all aghast, and it felt like our world stopped. Everything changed, especially in school, from on-site to off-site or online classes, and from face-to-face to online activities and school transactions. While it felt like our world stopped, we at CAPO asked ourselves, what can we do? Shall we wait for things to get better? But why wait for good things to happen when we can make it happen now? Hence, the recalibration and migration of our activities to be able to continue on providing opportunities to our students. Since then, the FEU Career and Placement Office, or CAPO, has successfully run a series of webinars to orient our students the basics of working, finding a job, essential know-how or on entrepreneurship, gaining higher studies in pursuit of their career goals amidst the new normal. We have successfully rolled out all other online activities designed to help prepare our internship and graduating students for the new world of work. Online mock interview with coaching, online exclusive recruitment, online recruitment exclusive for Tamaraos or ORETAMS, which is FU's first virtual job fair, student exposure to partner organizations or Student Expo, Young Leaders Educational Dialogue or ULEAD, to name a few. Let me show you a short video clip of CAPO's activities the previous months. Roll video, please. For this semester's activities, please check out our event posters and calendars of activities, a calendar of activities that is. We shall be posting this in the official FEU social media sites and Canvas. Okay. As we provide a holistic approach in our students' career development, we continue to offer meaningful activities and programs to help prepare and guide them in their life design, whether they want to have a successful career, build their own empire, or become a freelance professional to thrive in the new normal. For today's episode titled How to Write a TAMnotch Resume, we will discover more about how important a resume is in your job or internship application and why a resume is not just a piece of document required by companies and employers. This pep talk topic today is very relevant as we continue to adjust and thrive in the new normal way of doing things, not only in school, but in the long term, the world of work as well. On that note, I would like to end with my usual reminder. While it is not going to be easy to sort out the challenges in this new situation that we are in, always remember the mantra, be brave, because Tamaraos have always been resilient to whatever comes our way. Please always remember that. And now, without further ado, allow me to introduce our resource speaker. She is currently the Director for Digital Content Creation and Development, a unit under the Academic Affairs Office of Far Eastern University. She is also a faculty member from the Institute of Arts and Science, Department of Language and Literature. She completed her master's degree in Literature and Cultural Studies and Bachelor of Arts in Literature, both from the Ateneo de Manila University. She previously worked in sales and account management for a medium-sized company which handled international clients based in the US and Australia. She handled clients' payroll, visa processing, hiring, and staff management. Her research interests include e-learning, urban spaces, culture, and migration. Ladies and gentlemen, on your screen, Miss Mary Joy Yu. Miss MJ, the virtual floor is yours. I'm so sorry. Muntik na naman. Miss Mary Joy Yu. Oh, MJ. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma'am Babes. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Okay lang, it's MG. Okay, so good afternoon to everybody. I'm happy that everybody is here. You made time to attend my talk. And here is our talk for today. So I'm going to be talking about the job application pack. Okay, so I know that the title is how to create a TAMnotch resume, but I wanted to sort of make the viewers understand that in a job application, there are always two things that you need to consider. The first is your CV, which will allow your viewer or allow your audience, whoever it is, to really get a handle of who you are, your writing style, your communication style, as well as your resume, which is a representation of your skills and an analysis of your own work experience. Okay, so I'll discuss a lot of that further on. But before anything else, let's start. So this is all about the job application pack. Okay, so what can you expect from my presentation today? It's mainly talking about four things. What to expect, which is what we're doing now. The effective writing, why understanding your audience is important, and why communicating well is important, and how can you communicate through a CV or a resume and a cover letter. And the third is the cover letter, which is really telling them why they should pay attention to you. And last, we're going to talk about the resume, which really talks about why they should hire you. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to discuss is effective writing. Number one, I want you all to understand that writing is argumentative. All writing is argumentative, no matter what it is. If it's a social media post, if it's a blog post, if it's a text to your mother, if it's a text to your whoever it is, like your best friend, Des, meron akong chika sa'yo today, argumentative yon. Okay? It involves three things. A selection of facts, right? You are selecting from an array of information available to you. Because the selection itself is already an argument. The second thing that it is doing is it's presenting. It is a presentation of facts. You are narrating, you are telling your audience why the facts are important, and you are arranging all these details that you have selected into a story. Okay? And the last is it is argumentation. You are arguing for these facts' significance. Why it is important that your audience listens to you. Diba? So you are selecting facts, you are presenting facts, and you are arguing for their significance. Okay? So when you do your cover letter, when you do your resume, you are selecting the information that you want other people to see, that you want other people to know. You are presenting them in a way that makes sense, that is logical, that is well arranged, and that looks nice. Okay? And you are arguing for why it is important for people to pay attention. Okay? All right. So when you are writing, you have to consider three things. Your audience, yourself first, syempre. Consider yourself. What is your subject position? What is your background? What are your goals? Because all of these things will factor into what you're writing about. Okay? So for example, if your goals are for writing, your goals are, let's say, to get them to understand how good of a writer you are. Syempre, you have to, number one, ensure that your writing is spectacular. Diba? That your writing is grammatically correct. That the facts that you select about yourself are related to anything writing. If you are writing about, let's say, your experience in media, syempre yung facts na isa-select mo dapat related to media, kahit na meron kang previous experience in writing. Alright? So, kailangan important mo maintindihan, it is important to know what your goals are. What do you want out of it? Okay. So now that, let's say, you've already considered yourself, alright? The next thing that you need to consider is your audience. Who are you writing for? Are they older? Are they younger? Are they in the business industry? Are they in the media industry? Are they in the pet industry? Do they have a design background? Do they not have a design background? Because all these things will factor into how you create your presentation and how you create your resume and your cover letter. Are they more traditional? Diba? So, for example, if you're applying for a government office, medyo hierarchical, diba? Medyo traditional doon. Like, you would need, for example, to put ma'am or sir in your letters to show respect. But if it's a newer company, let's say you're writing to a foreign company, you would probably not put ma'am or sir because they don't have that sort of tradition. Diba? That's not their culture. So you would probably do first name basis and sign off with your first name. Okay? So you have to understand who are you writing for, what are their subject positions vis-a-vis you, and what are their cultural attitudes. Okay. So once you understand yourself, your audience, then you have to understand your content. Okay. What point do you need to get across? What proof do you have? And what do you include or omit so that your point gets across? Okay. So let's review again. All writing is a selection of facts. You have to select your facts carefully. You have to present them well. You have to argue for their significance well. Okay? And you have to consider yourself, your audience, and your content. All right. So let's look at writing principles. So we've discussed what writing is. It is an argumentation. What you should consider, okay, your goals, yourself, your audience, important in communication. Next, let's look at content and what you have to think about when you're writing. Okay, you have to ensure, number one, that your writing is united and coherent. What does this mean? This means that you should ensure that your content is structured well, contains a main idea, and the relevant supporting details. All right? Kailangan lahat sila, they support each other. May main idea na nakastructure, and dapat lahat ng supporting details para ma-prove yung main idea na yon nandoon sa kung ano man yung sinusulat mo. Otherwise, what you're writing will not make sense. Okay? So for example, if you're writing about, let's say, a media, let's say you're writing a resume for, let's say, a designer position. Tapos you put there, can write, right? Can write well. Okay yon. Pero, tas yun lang nilagay mo. Okay lang naman yon. Kaso, you're not showing the company your experience as a designer. Diba? So, hindi siya coherent kasi you say that you're writing or you say that you're presenting a resume for a designer position, but your experience, the experience that you put there was for a writer's position. So, while you have skills for writing, it's not what you highlight. Okay? What you highlight is your experience in design. So yun yung sinasabi natin with unity and coherence. Kailangan yung content mo structured well, may main idea, and may supporting details. All right? I'm sure that these writing principles are everything that you've already taken up in CASE, yung College Academic Skills in English. Kaso let's review now na i-take natin yung konteksto ng napag-aralan natin from your GE courses and will translate them into, for example, business and technical writing. Okay. So the next thing that you're going to have to take a look at, the next two writing principles that you're going to take a look at is clarity and concreteness. What does this mean? Okay. You have to ensure that your content is clear, grammatically correct, and provides details so that there is no room for misunderstandings. Pag sinabi natin grammatically correct, I mean it. Meaning, kapag nag-send ka ng cover letter at saka nag-send ka ng resume, kailangan spotless ang grammar. Some people don't think about grammar, and that's the last thing in their mind, right? When you write a resume, the first thing that you really parang, syempre napagdanan ko na rin yan, di ba? When I used to write a resume, the first thing that I did was, just to rearrange all my experience, blah, blah, blah. And the last thing that I really thought of is grammar. Because in my head, I'm like, well, grammar isn't important as much. Diba? The most important thing is that you put your skills there, you put your education so that whoever's reading it will understand where you graduated and all that. But actually, grammar is one thing that people look for. And why is it important? Because good grammar and spotless grammar makes sure that whatever you're writing about is completely understood and is understood well, so that there is no room for misunderstanding. And it also tells your reader that you cared enough about this particular position to ensure that you are communicating well. It tells them that you are a good communicator. If the resume that you sent in, if the cover letter that you sent in, doesn't have good grammar, mali-mali yung tenses mo, yung basic grammar lang. It will show them that you're not ready to be a good communicator. And in the workplace, being a good communicator is something that people need. Diba? Unlike in college where you might, for example ngayon, diba, may independent study tayo. Unlike in college where you might get away with doing all the work by yourself and then submitting it to the teacher in some courses. So it's all individual. In the workplace, there is no work which can be done that is only individual. Whatever work that is, even if your work is very specialized, you will always have to work with somebody else. And working with somebody else means you need to have good communication skills. And without an interview, if you've sent only your cover letter and your resume, where's the sign that you're a good communicator? Nasa language of the resume yan. Nasa language of the cover letter yan. Ngayon, kung mali-mali yung grammar mo, hindi ka maintindihan ng tao, how will they hire you? Diba? How will they say that to their bosses that this is a good person? This is a good person who will fit well in our company. Kung hindi ka makapag-communicate, if they don't see that you are communicating well. Okay? Kasi in person, in the interview, it's okay to make mistakes. It's all oral. You can take it back. You can say, oops, sorry, I said that. I didn't mean to. Ay, namali lang ako ng grammar. I'm so sorry. You can chalk it to nervousness. You can say, I was so nervous. I didn't know what to say. When it's talking, speaking, and you make a mistake, it's forgivable. Pero when it's written and there is an opportunity to proofread things and you don't proofread, that's a little bit of a red flag. Okay? All right. So let's move on. The next thing, and this is the last, the next thing that you're going to have to take a look at is conciseness and accuracy. What does this mean? You have to ensure as a writer that your content is brief, comprehensive, and accurate, and carefully thought out. Kailangan you say it in a way that it is that it is brief. Wala kang other unnecessary things na sinasabi. Kailangan comprehensive. Kailangan accurate. Totoo yung sinasabi mo. Don't fudge things. Diba? And kailangan carefully thought out siya. And I'll show you an example later of what is a carefully thought out resume. All right, sige. So let's review, okay? It needs your resume, or at least when you're writing, your writing principles. Everything that you're writing has to be united and coherent. It has to be clear and concrete. And it has to be concise and accurate. Okay, I'll now flash a slide which contains all these writing principles, and I'll ask Ron, our host for today, to spot the mistakes in the slide relating to the writing principles. Ron, are you there?
Hi, MJ. Miss MJ, thank you.
Hello.
Well, I'm glad I'm listening carefully. Oh, no, caught by
Ayan.
surprise. No, okay, yes.
Ayan, sige. So, I'll flash a slide after this that lists down the writing principles. And I want you to sort of look at the slide carefully and then see what mistakes you can pick out that are related to the writing principles. Diba? What did I miss out when I was writing the slide? Okay,
Right.
so for the people who are watching, the live attendees, what I'd like to do is I'd like you to answer in your seats, parang individually. And if you can, I'd like you to put it in the live Q&A para lang makita ni Kat, and then Kat can tell me. So Kat is monitoring the live Q&A. And then Kat can tell us, Ron can tell us if you guys got it generally. See, I have no way of knowing. Okay, so I'm flashing the slide now, Ron. All right, so Ron, here is the slide that shows all the writing principles together. Can you
Yeah.
tell me some of the things that you see that could be improved based on the writing principles that we just discussed?
Yes, I think Miss MJ, no, while I'm looking at it, I'm also inviting all our student participants here in PEP Talk to also join us, no, and maybe they can also put the comments, no, of how they see this example, what particular writing principles might be violated or did not really consider in this particular example. Okay, so we encourage students to also post your answers as well. Okay, Surface level, when I'm looking at this slide, if I'm looking at this, no, there's some sort of an issue when it comes to the format. It's very clear, no, visually. I think when you're using bullet forms or guide, no, or markers for bullet, it must be really consistent, right? So you can see in the second bullet, no, medyo this one is something na lalo na kapag yung magbabasa siguro, no, is really keen on this, no, the format, no. So there's an issue with the I would say, no, with the clarity in the format as well. And of course, if you look at the content in on the second bullet, I just noticed that it's a bit off when it's written, no, the way it was written, because it starts with a small letter. Oh, ganyan tayo
Correct,
ka-specific, no?
yeah. Yeah, small letters.
Correct.
Sobrang ano 'no, mukhang maarte na parang, bakit gano'n? Small letter lang. Pero kasi it shows, professionalism or it shows that you're not professional kapag hindi maayos lahat, 'di ba? Very simple thing. So thank you, Ron. Christine Noel Cruz, nakita ko pala yung Q&A. Salamat. So Christine Noel Cruz 'no, echoes Ron. So Ron, thank you so much, no. Christine, correct ka, sabi mo na yung capitalization ng second, hindi siya same, dapat naka-capital siya. Okay? Si Danmel Hidlas, thank you so much. Sabi ni Danmel, text must be visible and easily read. Correct. So sana kung nagpe-present ka, 'di ba? Tapos you want it to be clear, clear doesn't just mean the text itself. Clear also means that it should be readable. Hindi ka pwedeng magbigay ng resume na napakaliit ng font. Okay? So salamat sa mga nagpa-participate na students. Ron, meron pa bang isa na nakikita? Last one.
I think there's also a problem with the content itself, no? Because if you will also compare, all of the bullets would start with a verb. Parang off yung nag-start sa
Ah,
grammatically, 'di ba? So
correct. Correct.
consistency and
Salamat.
coherence, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, salamat. So, dapat lahat, 'di ba? Kung nag-start ako sa ensure, dapat lahat may ensure, dapat lahat may verb. 'Di ba? Hindi ako pwedeng mag-start dapat sa ganito. Okay, dun sa Q&A natin, si Alexandra. Sabi ni Alexandra, there is a inconsistent usage of words like yung and, which is the ampersand, tsaka yung end. 'Di ba? Kasi kung consistent ako dapat, 'di ba? Kung concrete ako dapat at coherent, dapat lahat same. 'Di ba? Thank you so much, Alexandra. Ayan, si Venmar Kudog. Salamat, Sir Venmar. Sir Venmar, sabi mo, parallelism correct. Hindi parallel yung verbs, hindi parallel yung pagkasulat, hindi parallel yung use of the ampersand in the end, pati yung bullet points. 'Di ba? Tapos, sabi ni Christine again, marks like yung period din po after details correct, hindi naka-period. Right? So, it's very easy to see if a particular thing, kahit magaling ka mag-English. So thank you everybody to those who all participated. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, students. Salamat, Sir Venmar. It's easy to see that if kahit magaling ka mag-English, kahit yung words mo tama, right? You use the language well, but your grammar and your coherence, your consistency is not there. You didn't really check before you publish. It can tell you a lot, diba, about your own character. It can tell your reader a lot about your own character and how you communicate. All right, so thank you so much. Thank you everybody for once again participating. Okay, so any questions before we move on? Kasi nakikita ko pala ang Q&A. Okay, I'll give maybe a couple of seconds for people to ask, right? Any questions before we move on? Pag wala ng questions, I'll move on. But then if there are, just put it in the Q&A and then I'll pause to answer. Okay. So before I talk about the cover letter and the resume, let's talk about first the job application process so that we can understand where we use these things for pala, sorry. Okay. So the job application process talks about a couple of things, right? Okay. Maliit yung font kasi that's only a introduction, right? Lalakihan natin yung font. Okay. So in the job application process, the first three things to take note of would be you would be looking for jobs. Okay, you would be looking at what are your skills. So number one, you look at yourself first. What are your skills? What jobs are you interested in applying for? So those are the things that you ask yourself first. And where are you looking? Are you looking online? Are you going to the companies and asking them if they have positions open? Usually, hindi na uso yon. Usually, you just look online. Pero some companies still accept walk-in applicants, lalo na if they are quite a big company and they have a lot of open positions to fill. Hindi sila magiging madamot sa pagsabi sa'yo na you can just walk in and then we'll entertain you. Okay. So again, let's talk about when you're looking for jobs, you have to look at your skills. What are your skills? What jobs are you applying? Are you interested in applying for? And where are you looking? Are you looking on JobStreet? Are you looking at CAPO? Kasi I know that CAPO has a database of jobs, di ba? That are available for FE students. Are you looking at LinkedIn? And are you looking at company websites? So those are the things that you have to take note first. And the second would be drafting your CV or your resume and your cover letter. Remember that you're going to have to rewrite your resume for every job. And this is the thing that I think not a lot of people understand. Some people think that when they write a resume, when it's done, when it's all done up, na-proofread na nila lahat, that's the thing that they send out to people. Actually, that's quite wrong. Okay? You should actually rewrite your resume for every job. And let's if you talk about, diba, parang why would you? Let's remember that when you write, you are selecting, you are presenting, and you are arguing. And that you should consider yourself, your audience, and your content. Which means that if you are looking for a job, let's say, and the job that you're applying for is in a media position, or like, let's say, communication. So let's say production assistant, ganyan. The skills that you would need for a production assistant will be different for the skills that you would need for a video editor. So while you may have both skills, because let's say in com you learn that, the specific type of skills that you need to highlight will be different. So while you still put both experiences in your resume, you would need to highlight more of one skill rather than the other, depending on the job that you're applying for. Okay, so matrabaho siya. Definitely matrabaho siya. Kasi per job that you apply for, kailangan specific ka. Okay, so kailangan mo talaga siyang i-rewrite. You highlight your skills, you ensure that the resume has no typos or errors, and then you send it. Okay, once you've sent it, and let's say you were considered for an interview, then you have to prepare and attend your interview. All right? So when you prepare and attend your interview, you ensure that you have a good impression. You have to be prepared. You research the position and the company. Actually, dapat na-research mo siya nung nagsusulat ka pa lang ng CV tsaka resume para specific yung skills na ilalagay mo, right? You have to dress professionally, look the part, and bring a copy of your resume or your CV. I've noticed kasi we did a little bit of I was involved in the hiring process for my previous company, and even in the GE office when I was in the GE office. And I noticed that not a lot of people bring their resumes. Usually hindi sila prepared. Usually hindi sila prepared. Pupunta sila doon sa office and then they just bring the resume. Punta sila sa office tapos wala silang dala. Tapos they'll rely on me to just provide the details for them on their own resume. Syempre, that seems unprofessional, di ba? Kasi when you're attending an interview, the person is gonna ask you about your resume. That's the document that you put. So it's nice if you have your own resume there, which you sent to them, so that you can review your own resume along with whoever it is who is interviewing you. Okay. All right. So the next would be waiting. When you're waiting, the thing that you have to do is you have to look at other jobs. You can't just put your hopes up on just that particular job, no? You have to redraft your resume, reapply, and then once I'm sure out of all these things that you've applied, you would have gotten one, diba? So you made it. Okay? So mahaba-haba ang job application process. But ultimately, it's all about getting people to look at your resume and look at your cover letter and look at you as an applicant and what you can bring to the company. All right, so now that we've understood the context of these two things that you need to write, let's look at it specifically. What is a cover letter for? Okay. So the cover letter is for three things. I summarized it in three things. The first is it's for making an introduction. It's introducing you as an applicant to the company, right? To whoever is the hiring manager, to whoever is the decision maker. They don't know you, they haven't met you before. And the cover letter is their first bungad. I can't tell you how many times in my previous company, kasi we were involved in hiring also for our clients, that applicants would send us their resume attached, and the only thing that they would put in the email is see attached, period. Wala na. Just their the PDF of the resume. And that, while it gets the job done, it does send the resume, so it does achieve some sort of goal. It doesn't actually show them how you are a good communicator. It doesn't say anything. It's very confusing. As a person who's receiving that email, what am I supposed to do with it? Diba? You're not off to a good start kapag ganon. And the cover letter is there to introduce you. It's to introduce your experience. And it's to build that first connection with the company, with the hiring manager, and with the decision maker. And your cover letter, that email that you're sending the first time, will be forwarded to everyone involved in the hiring process. So it's not just for the person who's screening the resumes, it's also for people who are deciding whether or not to hire you. So it's actually a pretty important document. Okay, so let's break down the three things. So making an introduction, it's introducing yourself to the company. Which job are you? And these questions that I've listed down below in that particular slide, it's questions that you should answer in your cover letter. So the questions that you should answer is, which job are you applying for? The company, whoever it is you're emailing, would have a lot of applicants email them. So if you're not particularly specific in the cover letter what you're applying for, they'll end up guessing. And you might not be considered kasi hindi clear yung sinasabi mo, di ba? So you have to put there, what job are you applying for? Where did you find the job ad? They would like feedback, and that's a particular feedback that's important to them. And why do you want the position? Actually, 3 sentences lang yan. Very, very short, very, very brief. Next is introducing your experience. Tell them what sets you apart as an applicant. And you don't have to say, hindi to parang this is what sets me apart. Don't say that. Pero the rule is always show, not tell. Show that you have experience, list down your experience, that rather than telling them you have experience. Be very specific and be contextual. Okay? So tell them what sets you apart. What are your skills? What are your internships? If you have had previous internships, what did you learn? Diba? What are your previous work experiences, if you've had any? Or, work-related experience. So usually for fresh grads, if you don't have any type of experience, work-related experience, like your organizations, like any volunteer work that you've done, is a work-related experience, and it can be classified under work experience. And educational background or courses that you want to highlight, especially if you're a fresh grad. And then you build that connection. Be respectful, be considerate, and confident. Don't be arrogant. Don't say that I deserve this. Don't say that I'm the best out of the best, because you never know. But you have to just be professional and be respectful and confident. Now, these are the things that I know. These are the things that I can offer. And I welcome anything. All right. So end your email with a note of thanks. Always thank them for their time. Even if it's a simple thank you, even if Thank you for your time today, blah, 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 blah. And establish professionalism. So greet them, be human, establish professionalism, build rapport, and build that connection. Okay, so let's see. Here is the cover letter checklist. So know the job you're applying for, understand and respond to their requirements, show that you're professional, be careful with your tone, and this is very important, be gender sensitive. So if it's, for example, like there's no, let's say, for example, in the job ad nakalagay, address your cover letter to, for example lang, Mary Joy. Ganyan. Don't assume that it's a Mrs. Don't assume that it's a Miss. Okay? The safest way is to put their name there. Hi, Mary Joy. Dear Mary Joy. Rather than say, Dear Mrs. Mary Joy. Diba? Kasi it's a little bit sexist kapag ganon. You don't know their gender, soji. Diba? Hindi mo alam. So don't assume that it's a sir or a ma'am. And don't go sir/ma'am para safe ka. Wag ganon. Kasi that means, number one, you're still putting binaries into things. And it looks like you didn't bother to know who the person you're talking to is. Ang pinaka-safe is usually research who the person you're sending it to. If there is nothing listed, you can put the title of the person. So let's say, to the recruitment officer, or dear recruitment officer, dear hiring manager, dear decision maker, right? That makes it more broad and that makes it more gender sensitive. So research kung sino yung taong sinusulatan mo. All right. Keep it brief, proofread, sorry. Okay, sorry. Keep it brief, proofread, ensure you are not flexing unnecessarily. Dun lang tayo sa experience natin. Avoid empty statements. Example, I am seeking a position where I can challenge myself. Kasi it's not specific. All right, so I'll show you an example of a cover letter. So this is an example of a cover letter that I wrote for this seminar, just to show you. Okay. So here, diba? Nakalagay, to the hiring manager at company from applicant at personalemail.com. Don't use any work-related emails. So for example, if you are hired under a company, tapos you are looking for jobs, don't use your work-related email. That seems very unprofessional. Okay? So you always have to put the subject position. What are you applying for? Because again, they have a lot of applicants. They have a lot of open positions. They might not know which position you're looking for. So application for the what position, and your name, so that if they search it in their email, it's easily found. Okay. So again, as I mentioned, be gender sensitive, right? Dear hiring manager, understand who you're writing to. Be specific. Greet them naman. Like, I hope you are well. Or there are a lot of varieties for this na parang, good morning, good day. Madami pa yan. Pick one. Tapos, say, be very specific. I am writing to express interest in the technical writer position, which was advertised on jobstreet.com. One sentence, alam na kagad nila kung saan ka nagsusulat, galing saan, saan yung konteksto na galing, di ba? My name is blank, what's your name? Example lang to ha, and I have been a technical writer for 2 years in the business process industry. So you're already making an example of, or you're already looking at, or telling them that this is my experience. This is my previous work experience. If you're a fresh grad, what you would do is you would say, I am a fresh graduate, okay, of blank, blank, blank university. Okay. Next, what you have done, what your skills are in relation to the position. Okay. I have written multiple articles for different kinds of websites, from less technical ones, like feature articles and personal essays, to ones that are more industry specific, like process flows, workflows, etc. So what did I do there? I made it a point to say that I am a writer, but I can write almost everything because I'm just a writer, diba? I can write even if it's artistic, but I can write even if it's a little bit more technical. So first thing that you do, you introduce yourself, right? Where you got it and what you can do, what you have done. And then whatever it is that you want to introduce them, parang what sets you apart. So nilagay ko dito, while writing is my main skill, I have other skills which can complement the position. I can do basic editing on Photoshop, which I had to learn on my own. So ayan, medyo nag-flex ka dito ng konti. Kasi nilagay mo na parang, okay, hindi ako tinuruan, pero may initiative ako. Pero hindi siya mayabang. Diba? So parang ano lang siya, little bit of a flex, konti lang. And cut basic videos using Adobe Premiere. So very specific, anong software yung alam ko? Okay, Photoshop, Adobe Premiere. I found that these skills were helpful, especially when the projects I worked on needed quick content to accompany the articles I wrote. So nilagay dyan na parang, okay, important to kasi this is what I can do. This is what I can contribute. Kung wala kayong video editor, kaya ko naman, pero basic lang. Hindi mo overly niyayabang yung sarili mo. Okay? So once you're done, see, I've only introduced myself in 2 paragraphs. Diba? 4 sentences, 2 paragraphs. Very brief. Kasi mahaba na yan para sa email. Okay? So the last is sort of like a transition. I hope that I gave you a good breakdown of my professional expertise, and I look forward to working with you in your company in the future. So that's building rapport. Okay? Na parang, this is me, I've already done this, and I hope to do this with you. Right? Building rapport. And then, the last one is your closing. I wish you all the best. Diba? Dapat polite tayo. Gusto naman natin maging human, right? And then, any attachments that you need. Attached is my resume and writing portfolio as requested for your review. Okay? And then the last is best, and then your name as a signature. Okay? So very brief, very short, but it does the trick. Diba? It introduces yourself. It introduces what you can do, who you are, what sets you apart, and all that. Okay, so let's go back to my presentation. All right, so the next thing is we're talking about the resume. Okay, while the cover letter introduces you and what sets you apart, the resume now helps people understand you work-wise, right? So the resume, and this is quoted from a book, which is Technical Writing. And the resume is a representation of your skills and credentials. It is an analysis of your qualifications. It should be designed to feature your strengths. Okay. Note the underlined text, representation, analysis, and design. So ibig sabihin, the resume represents you. Ikaw dapat ina-analyze mo yung strength mo, pinapakita mo, at dine-design mo yung resume in such a way that it features work-wise what you can do and what's your, like how you are able to contribute to the company. So what's the difference between a CV and a resume? Okay. Actually ako din, nung nagsusulat ako ng resume dati, medyo confused ako. Okay. So the difference between a CV, which is a curriculum vitae, and a resume is that a curriculum vitae, as in the name, is based on the curriculum or whatever it is that you've taken up in college. Okay, it is credential based. It focuses on your academic achievements. It usually contains your name, your contact info, your education, your skills, and your work experience, usually used in teaching or researching, right? While a resume usually is competency based. This is what people ask for usually in sort of more a management type or a business type role. It is competency based, what you can do. It focuses on your skills and work experience. And it usually contains your name, contact info, summary of education, work history and experience, and then your skills. Okay, so in writing a resume or curriculum vitae, ensure that you are doing 3 things. That you are matching, structuring, and proofreading. When I say matching, I mean that you are writing your resume to fit the position you're applying for. Minamatch mo sila. You customize it to fit the position's expected skills. When I say structuring, diba, I mean that you should structure your resume well. Make sure that it follows a logical progression based on your date, your experience, education, and skills. Show that you have been building skills and gaining experience. And when I say proofreading, I mean that you proofread, and then proofread some more. Make sure that it is free from grammatical errors and it is easy to read. All right. So here's your resume checklist. We're ending in a little bit, like maybe 5 minutes. Okay. So ensure that your content is responsive to the job application with your skills and experience. It follows the principles of effective writing, which I've discussed kanina, and it is grammatically error-free. And I ensure that it also contains a variety of verbs. Hindi pwedeng paulit-ulit yung verbs na ginagamit mo. It also should follow an appropriate level of personal details. I'll explain later what I mean appropriate level. Ibig sabihin, don't put unless you are applying for a social media position. Don't put your Facebook, your Instagram. They don't need to know that. Okay? Unless you're applying for a position which requires like being a model or a flight stewardess, don't put your photo. Okay? Appropriate dapat tayo. I know people put their photo in resumes a lot, especially like fresh grads. Pero kasi it invites a certain level of ability for employers to discriminate. Don't give them the opportunity to. Tsaka what, 'di ba? Parang think about it. What is a photo? What does it do for your skills? It really does nothing. Unless you are applying for being a model, unless nakalagay doon sa this job description, please attach a photo. Then you put a photo. Kailangan responsive ka. So appropriate level. You don't put your age. You don't put your birthday. You don't put your mother's maiden name. You don't put your mother's name. You don't put your address. Unless tinanong nila. Pero usually, they wouldn't ask. Kasi it's very personal. These are the things that they can use to hack your accounts. Diba? So don't put it there. Okay, it should be appropriate and organized structure of headings. It should be chronological and logical in order. And in terms of design, it should be consistent, it should be readable, it should utilize white space, and it shouldn't be overcrowded. Okay, so let's look at an example of a resume. And I highlighted some things about the resume so that you guys can see what I mean. So this is an example of a resume. I know it's quite small. Make it bigger a little bit. Okay. So first of all, what can you see? Okay, sorry Ron, tanong kita, 2 minutes lang. Ron, may question
Yes.
ako. When you
Sure.
see this resume, what is the first thing that you see?
The first thing that I would see,
Mhm.
I would look at the name, of course, and then
Correct,
what's underneath the name, of course. Yeah.
correct. So the first thing that you will see is the name, right? And what's underneath the name, which is the details. The only important details that they should put there, the hiring people should know are the number, where to contact you. Please do not forget to put that. Kasi baka naman, fit na for the position, pero hindi nila alam kung saan ka i-contact, diba? And your email address. Again, don't use any work-related email address. Use your personal email address. And then, you can put an about me there. And in the about me portion, skills. Hindi yung parang what I like doing. Parang I like basketball, I like makeup, ganun. Hindi ganun. Dapat work-related. Okay? So put your skills there, who you are as a worker. Problem solver, critical and creative thinker, can easily adapt to stressful situations. What languages do you know? What are you doing? What are your current positions? Diba? And what do you want to do? So if you notice, this is an example of a resume that is primarily for a teaching position or primarily for a research position. Kasi ang hinighlight lecturer tsaka gender studies. Kung I'm doing a business position, I wouldn't particularly highlight my research. I would take this out. Okay? Syempre, hindi ko to resume ha. Ano lang to? Example lang to. Okay. So education, you put there. Where did you graduate from? What year? Where did you graduate from? If you did a bachelor's or a master's, and what year? Okay. And then next, you put your work experience. Dapat reverse chronological, which is the most recent. Okay? So sample company muna, and then a very, very quick intro on what you did for that sample company, especially if you've been there for quite a while. Right? So kapag na-promote ka ng madaming beses, asan dyan? Alright? Tapos kapag nakita mo, when I say the verbs have to be consistent, look at the verbs. Create, facilitate, mark, provide, manage, responsible for, create, and deliver. Hindi ko inulit-ulit yung create. Diba? Tapos, kasi present siya, present tense siya lahat. Okay? Kung past tense, for example, account manager, 2014. Anong gagawin mo? Dapat managed. Kailangan past tense. Okay? Assisted, onboarded, handled. Tapos, hindi mo masyadong ika-crowd ng masyadong madaming facts. Yung relevant lang sa kung ano man yung ina-applyan mo. Diba? Managed, attended, gathered. Okay? And then, at the very end, references available upon request. The one thing that I see students doing with the resumes is they're already putting all the references details in your resume. Well, that's good kasi I guess it shows you or it shows the reader that you have parang a lot of people who can back you up. It's a little bit intrusive to the people or the references kasi you're already giving them or everybody else the contact details of those people. Now, what you can do if you really want to put already may laman na siya, lagay mo yung pangalan and then position and then say contact number available or email address available upon request. So those are the things that you can do to mitigate. All right. So I guess that's it for my presentation today. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Miss MJ, for a very informative, I would also say insightful, no, because you gave a lot of tips, no, and of course, making us realize how we can further improve our existing resume, and of course, the importance of also making understand, no, the importance of cover letter as a way to introduce yourself, no, before attaching your resume in your application for job or internship. So thank you so much again, Miss MJ. I think our students here really understood, and of course, some questions are actually we're now open for questions. You want to engage and also give your comments. We can discuss it right now. Okay. There's a question. I think Miss MJ, the questions are more technical, no, in terms of the writing, no, like the format, no. When sending a
Pwede
resume,
naman.
email, yeah, what's the usual size daw, no? Legal letter or
Preferred legal
A4, yeah.
letter or A4. Okay.
Yeah.
Usually, you look at the company. Most companies nowadays ask for A4 kasi A4 na yata yung nagiging standard for resume, for at least business and business correspondence. So I think I would suggest, this is a suggestion that this is parang syempre in my limited amount of experience, dalawang company pa lang naman yung pinagtatrabahuhan ko, di ba? So we usually use A4. I know that in the job ad they might specify what size, like they might specify letter, they might specify legal, but it's safe for F4. F4. Joke lang. A4. Kasi A4 is usually what is A4 na sabi ko. A4 is usually what is widely used. I think the next question, because I can see it in the screen.
I think
is it necessary?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. No, I was just mentioning that you mentioned about you clarified the difference kasi of the resume and CV, Miss MJ, right? And I think that's one of maybe a context for this one. Okay lang ba yun, no? Na 1 to 2 pages long ang resume or CV?
Oo. Kasi usually kapag fresh grad ka, it's assumed that you don't have a lot of experience, and that's okay. So usually, pag fresh grad, maybe 1 page. Kapag 2 pages long, medyo OA na kasi hindi naman ganun kadami yung experience mo. Tsaka usually they say the rule of thumb is always make the resume 5 years valid. Ibig sabihin, when you write your resume, kailangan kung ano lang yung within the last 5 years. So that means when you're a fresh graduate applying, you don't need to put your elementary details, di ba? Hindi na relevant yon. Yung relevant lang sa work experience mo. So usually a resume would be up to 2 pages long. Lalo na even if you're experienced, even if it's like 10 years experience. Magiging 2 pages lang yan, or the worst would be 2.5. So
Okay.
be brief.
Yeah, in your thank you, Ms. MJ, for clarifying. But in your experience before, no, that you were in the hiring and the staff management, and of course, working in your previous company, even now in FEU, when there are applying no, for teaching position, of course, you were once the coordinator of general education department. Before you pass it to me, and no, no. What I'm saying is, based on your experience, how many seconds or minutes do you really spend for each of the resume that you're reading? Is it something that you really scrutinize, or is there really something that you are really just looking at specifically? Yung parang kung titingnan mo, meron ba talagang heat map na tinatawag, like where your eyes will be focusing on a certain resume? So maybe that's a good way to explore that question.
Good question. Okay. Kung may heat map man yan, or iisipin ko, ano yung una kong titignan? Let's return back to yung ginawa natin kanina. No? Tinanong ko sa'yo, Ron, ano ba yung una mong tinignan? And the first thing that you would really look at is the name, the contact details, about section, tsaka yung the education portion. Tapos kasi mabilis ako magbasa, and I assume na a lot of people who are working in the management sector, or even like workers, diba, generally, we have to be efficient with our time. So what we do is we speed read. Una mong titignan yung verbs, una mong titignan yung position. Kung hindi ka satisfied, kung hindi clear yung resume mo, nakaka-confuse kung ano ba talaga yung sinasabi ng applicant. So kapag na-confuse ka, ano yung feeling na yon, na parang, ay shucks, parang hindi yata siya magaling. Kasi na-confuse ako eh. The best resumes are usually the ones that can be processed in a very short amount of time. Kasi clear yung sinasabi nila. Alam mo kagad na fit siya sa position, alam mo kagad na fit yung experience niya, tapos yun na yun. Right? So, you have to, as a resume writer and as an applicant, you have to be clear on your position and clear on what do you really want. So, para maging effective siya.
Ang daming interesting question, Miss MJ, like this one. Okay lang po ba or advisable mo maglagay ng weaknesses sa CV or resume?
Wag na. Wag.
Siguro kina-clarify lang niya, parang you're being humble naman.
Very good question, person whoever you are. Pero wag mo na ilagay. I mean, it's supposed to be an analysis of your skills and why the company should hire you. If nilagay mo yung weakness mo doon, admission na yon na hindi ka magaling, kahit na magaling ka. So, huwag mo na ilagay. Actually, even the interview, di ba? Pag sa interview na, tsaka mo sabihin, be honest na parang, this is my weakness, but I am doing these steps to improve it. Pero pag sa resume, huwag mo na ilagay. Quiet secret na lang natin yun.
Yeah, parang sinabi mo kanina, Miss MJ, it could be a source of unnecessary prejudice towards you, parang...
Oo, wag na.
Yes. What's your take also, Miss MJ, about the resume format that we see right now that are a bit too colorful o mala infographics na ang dating? Yes.
Okay. Depende yon. Depende kasi yun sa'yo. Kasi remember, our resume shows your personality. Tsaka depende yan sa company na ina-applyan mo. So if a company is pretty young, hip, I would suggest, you put color, ganyan. Okay lang naman as long as the design, kasi I teach technical writing also. And one of the things that my students ask, okay lang ba yung template sa Canva ng resume? Sabi ko sa kanya, as long as it achieves the purpose of your resume. Remember, kasi you're writing, you're selecting facts and you're presenting them. So as long as the presentation achieves the purpose, then why not? Make it as colorful as you want. Pero kung nakaka-deter siya from the focus, kunyari, kung yung resume mo sa sobrang colorful, hindi ko na mabasa. Sa sobrang colorful niya and bright, hindi ko na maintindihan kung ano yung gusto mong ilagay, then I feel that that's not the way to go. Ako ka lang naman kaya white and black yung pinakita ko sa inyo kanina kasi parang yun yung trip ko. Boring akong tao. Pero kung very creative kayo, why not? Let it shine. Okay.
Yeah, I think also some of the trends right now is using a pie chart that shows the percentage of your skills. For example, you have
Oo nga.
70% skills in Canva, 10%
Ano
in
ibig
Adobe
sabihin
Photoshop.
nun?
How would you yeah, yeah. It might be it might
Oo.
give more questions
Actually,
rather than making it really clear, no, Miss MJ?
yeah. Kasi parang ano ibig sabihin, 'di ba may mga parts na parang 5/10, ganyan. 'Di ba yung mga dots na parang scale?
Correct.
5/10, Canva. 4/10, Adobe, ganyan. Eh, parang sa utak ko, or 'pag binabasa mo yung resume, ano ibig sabihin nun? Hindi siya specific. So,
Yeah.
rather than do that, maybe what you can do is you can say, I have 2 years experience in working with Adobe Photoshop. I
Correct.
have 2 years experience in working with Canva, 3 years
Mhm.
experience with, I don't know, Adobe Premiere. Then that
Yeah.
makes it more specific. It tells the client, or it tells your potential employer that, okay, you have, tarang, ang tagal na ng experience niya kahit na fresh grad siya,
Correct.
right? So that makes it more realistic and more specific, rather than a scale which you're the only one who used the scale on yourself.
Yeah.
Diba?
Sounds legit and professional also when you mentioned about the number of years that you
Correct.
actually learned, no, and of course, no, when you were applying these skills, no, for this number of years, no. I think it's
Correct.
also you also answered this question from one of the participants about being creative in the resume, so we covered that as well. There's another question here from one of our participants. What are the possible things that we could put sa work experience po if we're fresh graduates at wala pa kaming work experience at all? So how would we
Okay,
make
good
our
question.
resume interesting? Yes, Miss MJ.
Work-related experience is the way to go. So instead of putting work experience, you say work-related experience. As a fresh grad, the expectation is that you will not have experience. Some of the fresh grads will have, because some of them are working students. Some of them do a little bit of work on the side. So it's not all fresh grads don't have work experience, but some would have nothing, right? Because if you just concentrate on your studies and all that, you would put work-related experience. And as a student, what you can do to beef up your resume is to join organizations or volunteer. It doesn't have to be organizations in your university. It can be organizations outside. Like, for example, I don't know, you volunteer for something in your church, volunteer something in your barangay, um, arrange something, I don't know. Kasi those skills that you put there are transferable in the workplace. Like organizing is a skill, diba? Creating, designing, those are skills that while you didn't do for a particular company, you still did. And that is relevant.
Yes, thank you,
So
Miss
yeah.
MJ. No, actually, ang gaganda ng mga questions nila na very what do you
Yeah.
call this, no, sensible and relevant. No, one question here is how slim for a person's how slim, no, is the percentage, no, in terms of the person's chance to be approved of getting a job without a degree, despite those jobs stated no bachelor's degree is needed, yet still not yet approved after months and months.
Okay. Email mo ko. Madami kasing pwedeng sagot dyan. I don't wanna
Yes.
assume your
Yeah.
particular situation kasi hindi natin alam. Like, I don't wanna say anything kasi hindi natin alam yung situation mo. So what you can do is you can email me. Pero, for a very parang overview na what you can look at if you don't wanna email me, you can look at your writing in your resume, your cover letter. It might not particularly be specific sa skills mo. Baka may problem with the way that you present your information. So email mo ko, let's see, I'll give you feedback on your resume.
Wow, intellectual generosity from Miss MJ. Thank you so much. This one is also, I think you will like this question
Yeah,
personally.
I know, I
Uh,
saw. Yeah.
so for the benefit of those in the live stream as well. Good afternoon po. I do believe now we should respect and do not assume one's soji. But wouldn't it sound or seem to be disrespectful po if an applicant will address the person by just his or her first name? And also, will it appear
Mhm.
unprofessional for us to just indicate our first name at the signatory part, the signature part? Thank you, Miss MJ.
Okay. Sige. I feel like I need to explain why I said don't assume sogi. Okay. And I feel like I need to also say that we need to parang balikan natin yung sinabi natin kanina, 'di ba? Research your audience. If it's a company that is foreign, they will not have the same cultural traditions that we do in terms of being disrespectful with your elders or hierarchical. Hindi sila ganon. And I say this because I assume that a lot of us will want to work, di ba? Diverse yung ina-applyan natin. So we might apply for different kinds of companies. Younger companies, maybe foreign companies, companies whose CEOs are maybe in their 20s, 30s, right? So these things, the hierarchy doesn't really matter for these kinds of companies na bago, up and coming, very pop culture, popular, even foreign companies. The thing nowadays, the trend nowadays is to address people by their preferred name. It should, well, I would clarify, no, it shouldn't be a trend. I think, kasi preferred name talaga, I think is very respectful. Okay, so we should use the preferred name, the preferred pronouns, and all of that. So, but if it is a company that you know is hierarchical and that you know is traditional, then I would advise you to use ma'am or sir. I hope that clarifies things, no? Kasi then that means, kasi what professional and unprofessional mean for different companies is different. Subjective kasi ibig sabihin nun, di ba? Professional or unprofessional. So, depende yan sa company na ina-applyan mo. If it's a younger person, younger company, even in the academe is changing now. So, that's what I advise. Parang hindi ko sinasabi na wag. Sinasabi ko lang na research the company and see what type of culture they are and what values do they represent.
Yeah.
And my question is, do you really want to work for a company whose values don't fit your own? Diba?
Correct. So I agree, Ms. MJ. Interesting, no, to clarify that there are also some CEOs from multinational companies who would like to be called by name, first name basis, right?
Yes.
So that also shows
Tapos
the
yung sa
values.
signature naman. Yeah, sorry, yung hindi ko pala nasagot. Yung sa signature naman, i-match mo kung ano yung ginawa mo for the salutation. Kung first name yung ginawa mo for the salutation, first name din yung sa signature. Kung full name yung sa salutation, full name din yung sa signature. So, ima-match mo lang siya.
Yes, Miss MJ, mukhang clingy yung mga participants ngayon. Ang daming questions na pumapasok. I'm so surprised as well. Immersion daw sa senior high school, should we include that? And also about the webinars that they have attended, which of those should be included in the CV?
Sige. Immersion sa senior high, depende yan. Kung pasok siya sa 5-year, sige, lagay mo. Kung hindi siya pasok sa 5-year, pero you feel that it is important for them to know because you learned something and there's a skill that you learned, then sure. Pero kasi usually ang immersion, how long was that? Parang what? 1 week? 1 day? Eh di parang hindi yata buildable ang skills sa ganun kaikling panahon. Pero yon, depende kasi yan sa kung ano yung ginawa mo doon, kung relevant ba siya. Kung relevant, lagay mo. Kung not so much, kung gusto mo lang pahabain yung resume mo, wag na. And then yung next is webinars attended. Kung may certificate ka, ilagay mo. Tapos wag masyadong mahaba. So ako, top 3 lang. Top 3 most important webinars that you've attended. Wag mo na gawing parang 10. Kasi parang OA.
And also related, no, to the position that you're
Dapat
applying.
related.
No?
Oo.
Yeah, correct. Thank you. So if you're applying for a designer, so of course the webinars, no, that would enhance your graphic design skills. No, kung nasa field ka naman ng business or finance, those that would also improve, no, your skills, no, in auditing, in accountancy, and all. No, so definitely we are looking at that. Of course, the webinars from CAPO, no, will be also a good start. Pin remote. Yes.
Ito may gusto akong question dito.
Sige, please, Miss MJ.
Sige, sabi niya, paano naman if may few work experience ako, then gusto ko po mag-change ng career? O, eto, masasagot kita kasi ako rin, nag-change rin ako ng career. Ilalagay ko pa rin ba ang previous experience ko kahit na hindi po siya related sa new job application? Yes. Pero ito yung gagawin mo. Kukunin mo kung ano yung skills na kailangan mo for your new career na natutunan mo in your previous career. Tapos ima-match mo sila. So for example, kunyari lang ha, yung experience ko na lang pala, sige. Manager ako dati, right? Tapos gusto ko mag-work sa academe. 2 different things, right? Parang business process outsourcing, BPO industry, clients. And then I wanted to work in the academe. So teacher, right? No previous work experience with teaching at all. Pero paano mo ma-translate yung work experience mo or yung gusto mong maging experience, which is teaching, from your previous. So pwede mo, ano ba yung mga skills sa teacher na kailangan? Kailangan magaling ka mag-organize. Kailangan magaling ka kumausap ng ibang tao because you're facilitating classroom discussions, di ba? Kailangan magaling ka mag-present. Kailangan may skills ka for presentation. So obviously, from my previous career, I was like organizing events. I was presenting to clients. I was doing client work. So skills are the same. They can be transferred. So you have to write your resume in a way that would match the role that you want, kahit na mag-change ka ng career. So I hope that made sense.
Yes, interesting, no? So it's really about trying to also highlight, no, the skills that will also be relevant, no, to your new career, of course, the shifting to a new career. I like this also this question, Miss MJ. Right now that we are doing online OJT or virtual internship, what's your take on this? Will this imply daw a negative impact, or would it be an advantage or disadvantage for them when the companies would see that they came from a virtual internship program?
Okay. I have this thing to say about virtual work. Virtual work is still work. And you might think, like, because we're in the pandemic now, and this setup might be new for you, that you're not going into the office. But as early as when the BPO industry exploded, and I know that it is because I used to work there, there's this thing called being virtual, like virtual. Yung client ko nasa ibang bansa, and I'm working for them, right? I'm arranging everything for them. That means we didn't meet personally. There was no work personally that was done. All the negotiations, all the contract signings, all the presentations were all online. Even the hiring process was online. The work was done online. Everything was online. So you actually think that this is new, but this kind of setup isn't new. It's only new because now everybody's doing it. But it wasn't new. And if people in 2012 were able to get jobs as a designer for a virtual company in Australia or in the US, why would it mean that you won't get a job when you cite your internship that is online? The skills are still the same. You still did the same amount of work. Hindi ka nagtatrabaho, right? You're still writing. You're still, whatever it is you're doing, managing, you're still talking, you're organizing. All these skills that you learn in a particular role are still skills that are valid. So just because it's virtual doesn't mean it's not valid and you didn't do it. So, yeah.
Thank you for that's very reassuring. No, it's really something that would motivate our students, no, and build their confidence to really be successful in their virtual internship right now, and of course help them to realize that there are a lot of potentials, no, and of course that they can still work on other things, no, in the future, no, and this internship, regardless whether it's virtual or it's something that's limited in terms of social dimension or a face-to-face format, will still hone their skills. No, thank you so much, Miss MJ. I think no, maraming tanong, but some of these questions, in a way, no, are similar and of course have been answered. But of course, we will give all these questions to Miss MJ so that she would have time. And of course, lalo na yung sinabi ni Miss MJ kanina, i-PM niya yung sagot sa isang estudyante,
Pero,
sa isang participant. We will know.
kung ano, malalaman ko kung email mo ko.
Yes, of course, of course. We will be taking note of these questions. But yes, this is a very engaging afternoon, Miss MJ. Really interesting, no, that they have a lot of questions, and it really shows, no, the kind of mindset that they have, that they really want to really prepare for their internship and job application. Okay, thank you so much. Much as I would like to read all the questions, we don't have the luxury of time. We will ask our speaker na lang, no, to go back to these questions through CAPO. Thank you so much. And yes, there you have it. Before we officially conclude our pep talk for today, we would like to present the certificate of appreciation to our resource speaker. Let me read the text. For Eastern University Career and Placement Office Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Ms. Mary Joy Yu for her valuable contribution as speaker during the Pre-Employment Preparation Talk webinar series titled How to Write a TAMnotch Resume, given this 24th day of September 2021 at Far Eastern University, Manila, signed by Maria Carmencita Suba Alfonso, Director of FEU Career and Placement Office, and Generoso Pamitan Jr., PhD, Assistant Vice President for Academic Services. So, Miss MJ, may idadagdag na po kayo sa CV ninyo. Kasi pinag-usapan natin kanina yung mga certificate and all, no? Yeah, I think it's making it really valid, no? I mean, in a way no, that you are helping no, our students and our future graduates no, to be successful and of course confident no, in their job application. So Miss MJ, before we end this webinar, are there any parting words or final thoughts that you would like to share with the audience?
One last na lang. Alam kong mahirap na maghanap ng ano, mahirap maghanap ng job, mahirap magsulat, pero konting tiyaga lang. And then, don't worry, when you write your resume and when you try and apply for a job position, ensure that the values of the company that you want to work for are aligned with your own. Kasi, sure yon kapag aligned sila, matatanggap ka. Tsaka pag maayos yung pagka-write ng resume mo.
Yes. Thank you so much, Miss MJ. And also, just to remind also all our students here that we have an e-resume builder that is available at your TAM service deck. It's a basic way of creating your resume. So you can also use that as a format, and of course, if you want to also VIP up no, or really help yourself with no, you can also take note no, of of course, no, the tips no, mentioned by Ma'am MJ earlier about writing your cover letter no, that comes with the attached CV or resume. So thank you so much at this juncture. Thank you again, Miss MJ, you, Ma'am Mary Jo, you for gracing this event and with your valuable knowledge and experience to all our students in attendance. Please do not forget to answer the online student activity evaluation form and we will provide you an e-certificate of attendance. So ayan. So yeah, pwedeng isama sa resume, no? Especially that if you would like to highlight this, no? We would like to also invite you again to join us in the next exciting PEP Talk webinar. So kung ngayon, resume writing, next week, grab that job. How to be successful in job interview. Again, also resume writing, so continuation pa rin ito, and proper grooming. So this is really helping you to grab that job for next week's September 30 Thursday PEP Talk. For updates, please regularly visit the Career and Placement Office official Facebook page. And on behalf of the FEU Career and Placement Office, we would like to thank again our digital media partner, the Marketing and Communication Office, care of Sir Ian Evasco, for making this live webinar possible. Many thanks to our dear students, faculty members, and employees for joining us. We hope that you've learned a lot from today's PEP Talk. And as we end, may we invite everyone to join us in singing the FEU hymn. This is again your MC Ron Gascon from the Career and Placement Office. Keep safe, everyone. Be brave. Kamaraos.